I had a couple of times I thought I could have turned around and went back the other way, but I don't know, man. I just never, I can't say I didn't think about quitting, but I never had prolonged thoughts about giving up. I had moments, I'm human, man, this ain't going right. Especially when I was living in the car, when I was homeless, man, I didn't know how I'd ever make my dreams come true. But the thing about God is, see, you have to keep going because you just don't know when God is going to flip the switch. And he can't tell you when he's going to flip the switch because it would destroy the one thing that he requires from you, faith. See, if you knew when it was going to happen, it wouldn't require faith. It would just take patience. But faith is the belief in things that you cannot see. You have to understand on your road to success that you just have to keep believing in this thing that you can't clearly see. People ask me all the time, Steve, did you ever see yourself with this? No. How? I didn't even know this existed. I didn't know that this level of life was there. I didn't know no rich people growing up.
There's going to be a lot of things that we all go through in life. There's going to be the good and there's definitely going to be the bad, but it's still a process. And how you embrace the process is all basically depending on how you take it and how you absorb it. Even myself, I tend to go through my ups and downs, but at the end of the day, I realize that it's still a process and it's all about how I absorb it and what I use it for.
Look back on my life and all that I've been through. So the stuff I'm currently going through, I have built up enough reservoir that living in the car taught me that this ain't it. So the things I'm going through now, I know this ain't it, that he gonna come get me in a minute. So all I gotta do is sit tight. I ain't in a bad place. Now I ain't where I wanna be, but the spot I'm in is better than where I was. Get yourself together. God got a great life for you. I'm telling you, God got a plan for you that's so out of sight, it would trip you out. All you gotta do is ask him for it and wait on it and be willing to work. Faith without works is dead. That's all you got to do.
The dreams God has placed in your heart, the promises he's spoken to you are not going to come to pass without opposition, without delays, without people trying to talk you out of it. There will be plenty of opportunities to get discouraged, to lose your passion and think that it's not meant to be. But if you're going to reach your destiny, you have to have a made-up mind. If you give up after the first time or the 5th time or the 30th time, what that really means is you didn't want it bad enough. There should be something you're believing for that you are relentless. You are not moved by how impossible it looks. You're not discouraged by how long it's taking. You don't give up because people told you no. Your attitude is, if I have to believe my whole life, I am not going to stop believing. I am not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to settle for mediocrity. I'm going to keep pursuing what God put in my heart. You can't be passive and indifferent. You have to have a holy determination. It's more than just your will. It's a fire on the inside, a knowing that it's supposed to be yours. When everything says it's not going to happen, instead of getting discouraged, you kick in to a new gear. Normal people would give up. Normal people would settle, but you're not normal. You want it on another level. When David was 17 years old, the prophet Samuel anointed him as the next king of Israel. But David didn't go to the palace. He went back to the shepherd's fields where it was lonely. He was overlooked, mistreated by his family. When he finally did go to the palace to serve King Saul, Saul became jealous of David and tried to kill him. David had done no wrong, yet he had to live on the run, hiding in caves, spending months out in the desert. He could have been discouraged, thought, God, this isn't fair. You anointed me to be king. Nothing is working out. But David didn't have a give-up spirit. He didn't feel sorry for himself. He didn't let circumstances talk him out of it. He had a warrior mentality. His attitude was, I am not quitting. I am not settling for mediocrity. I know there is greatness in me I'm going to become who God says I am. One reason he took the throne is he wanted it bad enough. How bad do you want what God has put in your heart? Bad enough to outlast the opposition? Bad enough to overlook some insults? Bad enough to do the right thing when the wrong thing is happening? Do you want it bad enough to keep pursuing even when circumstances say it's not going to happen? Many of the difficulties we face, the delays, the times it's not fair, that's simply a test. God is seeing how bad do you want it. This is what weeds people out. If you're overcome by problems, you let circumstances push you down, people talk you out of it, you're not going to have the strength or the courage to sustain where God is taking you. You have to be like David. Don't have a weak mentality, have a warrior mentality. You have to be more determined than the opposition. If you give up every time things don't go your way, you didn't want it bad enough. You have to dig your heels in and say, I am in this for the long haul. I know what God has spoken to me. I will get well. I will accomplish my dream. I will meet the right person. You're not moved by what's not working out, by how long it's taking, or by who's not for you. You know who is for you, the Most High God. Quit telling yourself it's too hard. It's too early. I've had too many setbacks. You can do what you want to do. Don't miss your destiny because you didn't want it bad enough. What God put in you is worth fighting for. It's worth being uncomfortable for a season. It's worth having to stretch, to get up early, to try it again, to do what others aren't willing to do. My grandmother on my father's side of the family was a very feisty woman. She was a real character. She grew up way out in the country, and she and my grandfather were very poor. They didn't have much education, but they were really great people. But later in life, my grandmother took up chewing tobacco. She liked to dip snuff. You didn't know I came from such a sophisticated background. One time, someone asked my father if you could chew tobacco and go to heaven. He said, yes, but you'll have to go to hell to spit. My grandfather couldn't stand it. He begged her and begged her to stop. She said, Jack, I just can't do it. I've tried everything. I'm hooked. This went on year after year. Nothing seemed to help. And my grandfather was desperate. He finally told her, Ellie Mae, I will give you $1,000 if you will stop dipping snuff. Back then in the 40s, 1,000 was like 25,000 today. She wanted the money so badly. She tried everything she could. She still couldn't stop. Well, eventually my grandfather died. He went to be with the Lord. But my grandmother didn't like being single. Ellie Mae wanted to find herself a man. She met this man that was 12 years younger than her. She was so excited. He was handsome, had a great personality, more than she could imagine. But she started thinking, if he finds out I dip snuff, he will never even ask me out on a date, much less marry me. Do you know how long it took Ellie Mae to quit dipping snuff? That long. She did it instantly. She didn't go to Snuff Dippers Anonymous. She didn't have any withdrawals. What she couldn't do in years, she did in a split second, all because her want to got big enough. Like my grandmother, you can do whatever you want to do. The question is, how big is your want to? You can break that addiction if you really want to. You can forgive that person that hurt you. You can make your marriage work. You can write that book. You can accomplish your dream if you want to bad enough. Your will is one of the most powerful things you have. When you make up your mind to do something, God will breathe on your efforts and give you strength that goes beyond your natural ability. It's not just willpower, it's the blessing of God helping you. But it kicks in when God sees you doing all you can do, taking steps to come up higher, forgiving the person that did you wrong, trying again after a disappointment. That's when you'll see God make things happen that you couldn't make happen. But I wonder if you've convinced yourself you can't do something that you really can do. I don't have the discipline. I don't have the talent. God is saying you can do it. It's in you, but you're going to have to dig down deep and put forth the effort. It may not be easy, but your destiny is calling. You have greatness in you. Don't let people talk you out of it. Don't let circumstances convince you that you can't. There are new levels in front of you. There are great relationships, healing, promotion, abundance. My question is, how bad do you want it? I believe I'm looking at hungry people today. I'm looking at people that have a made-up mind, people that are relentless. I believe and declare, because your want to is big enough, like Bartimaeus, you're going to see God suddenly turn things around. Like David, you're going to outlast the opposition and take your throne. And like my grandmother, you're going to break barriers that have held you back and step into a new level of your destiny in Jesus' name.